welcome back to the Untacked podcast, where we give you the latest in equestrian chick-chat and small-town stories.
Today we are tipping our hats, literally, to the evolution of equestrian hat fashion.
From the traditional vaquero to the original cowboy hat, we're getting down and dirty.
We'll cover sun protection, hat etiquette, superstition, and vibes.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Untacked. My name is Melanie.
I'm Savannah,
I'm Yvette.
And I'm Mariko.
and this is Untacked.
All right, we're just going to get right into this hot lap, 10 seconds of everyone so you guys can get to know us a little bit better. Go ahead, Savannah.
My hot lap is gonna be, what is up with chick people right now? I'm sorry, I call y'all crazy chick people because we open at 8 a.m. and we had people there at 4:50 this morning waiting in line to get little baby chicks.
Like it was Black Friday during non-Amazon days.
Literally that, and when people were calling, I was explaining it as it's like toilet paper and COVID.
Yep.
Are you serious? What's the
Yes.
big deal?
The egg prices.
The egg shortage, there's a chick shortage right now.
Oh,
It's
God.
bad.
I grew up with chickens and I hate having chicken. I'll do my hot lap. I literally don't understand what it is about jean makers that don't understand that we need them longer. Like equestrian people need longer jeans. And they'll say it's 38 length. I swear to God, I bought so many jeans last month, all 38 length. They're not 38 length. I call bullshit. And someone needs to make them longer. Long. I have like high waters every time I ride. It's so annoying.
Yes.
This is because you want those Idlewild, Miranda Lambert.
Yes.
Fancy jeans.
Dear Idlewild. Nobody wears 34 length. Nobody. Not even the short girls.
I do.
You shouldn't.
You were 34.
I saw the pants that you wore the other day.
So, Mel, I feel like either one of us could go, but I feel like you should take this hot lap.
I'm just going to speak on behalf of Mariko and myself that I feel we have the same hot lap. As y'all watched from last week's episode, we tread on Yvette's clip-on bangs. I don't know how the spark started, but Mariko and I said, I think we're going to make this our personality for the next 6 months, if not longer, because that's how long it's going to take our hair to grow back from cutting bangs. So that's our hot lap.
So should I cut bangs?
Do it.
Get clip-ins. That's exactly why I said you are going to regret it. Everyone regrets cutting their bangs because growing them out is such a pain in the ass.
But, you know, we cut them. No regrets.
They went
There's
all
regrets.
in. They said no.
Whatever. You were crying.
I don't even know if I want to come today. I don't want to show my face.
Yeah, she's here. Hence the reason today's discussion
Is hats.
Yay!
Yay.
All right, so we have a lot to discuss, of course, all things cowboy hats. I really wasn't sure how we were going to air this as an episode because it felt like all we were going to talk about was hats
And the shapes.
and the shapes.
And the colors.
And how were we going to cover this and how was it going to be interesting? So if you see us referring to some of our notes, we did a lot of research on this and there's actually a lot of information that is interesting. So we're going to start with the birth of the cowboy hat.
In the 1800s, when the settlers arrived to America, they used whatever they can get their hands on, which was mostly bowler hats and navy caps, and they did not anticipate the blazing sun or the heat.
That's when the cowboy hat was born. The modern cowboy hat, or boss of plains, was invented in 1865 by...
George Strait.
No!
The king of the cowboys.
Invented in 1865 by John B. Stetson. Though its design draws inspiration from the wide-brimmed hats worn by the Mexican vaqueros and other styles of headgear used by horse riders in the 13th century. So basically, from a lot of the research that I did, it said that the settlers would see the vaqueros working in the field doing cattle work, and they basically took the inspiration from that, and not George Strait, but John B. Stetson was like, I'm on it.
I actually think that's super interesting because you always talk about vaqueros and charros and the Mexican rodeo.
I'm very passionate about my culture.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Since you're so passionate about your culture, can you do a grito?
No.
Dang it!
What is that?
That's when they go, oh, no. I see cowboy hats being used now And they use like old school hats, like with the tall crown. And it's like, so it's like coming back. Well, the sombrero's doing the same thing.
I also think that it's interesting when we talk about things like customizations and variations. We talk about the tall crown, and then we talk about some of our hat fashion that we have today. So I would love for Mel, because I know she did a ton of research, to walk us through what some of these customizations look like.
Thank you, Marika. I've been waiting for this moment. Per my research, so for those of you that don't know, the crown is the top of the hat that which your head goes into, and the brim is the front of the hat, or also the part that goes around your face, you know, over the shoulders. The shapes of the crown can be the minnock, the cattleman, the Biggs, the CHL, the Gus, the open crown, the quarter horse, the teardrop, the telescope, the UN, and the WTD. Now, as for the brims, there's also many shapes you can decide to pick from, including the CHL, the JB, the J, the WTP, TP, SC, RD, and U. And that concludes all my hat shapes for today.
So what's interesting, though, is that we have all these customizations, right? All the customizations, all the different hat shapes, and there's really kind of a purpose, I think, behind each one of the hat shapes. So all of us met on a rodeo drill team, and there was a preferred style for that drill team. So who wants to share with us a little bit about what that rodeo style was?
Rodeo queen. Tight taco.
So what is the rodeo queen, like, what is the significance around, like, why is the rodeo queen hat like that?
Couldn't tell ya. They're off their rockers. Who wants it to be that
Square.
I want to look like nice and punchy and ranchy.
Can you phone a friend?
We can phone a friend.
And please fact check me if I'm wrong, but I can totally guess that the rodeo queens choose this hat style because the tight taco, as we've been calling it, also shapes their face so that way you can see them clearly, and it portrays their rodeo wings, which is a hairstyle that swoops the bangs towards the outside. It also shows their eyes popping out, their smile, and it gives them just a total face framing that is boom, front and center, so that way their fans, their pictures, the photographers, etc., family, and the young children that are looking at the rodeo queens can see them front and center and clear.
That is so interesting.
Spoken from rodeo queen.
I plead the fifth on that one.
So what is the first hat you ever purchased, and what was the style that you had it designed to?
I'll give you two, because my first hat was considered an English helmet, so that was my first one. And then, which was more relevant to this podcast, my first Western hat that I purchased was actually a super tight, narrow, and high hat that was for Western pleasure showing.
Do you remember where you got it from?
I do not, but I do know that I bought the hat cans from Thrifty Horse, and I got my hats shaped at Boot Barn.
Side note, I worked at Boot Barn when
Did
I was
you
in high school. And I was the hat shaper. And I don't understand why people trusted me with their hats. Like, I was not good at it.
What about you, Savannah? What was the first hat you ever purchased?
The first hat that I ever purchased was a straw hat from Tackroom Hat Works. Shout out to them because they're awesome. They helped me find the perfect fit and all.
They are amazing.
They are. I was going for like a wide brim, like very ranchy. Like I didn't want to look like rodeo queen style.
What about you?
My first hat, probably when I worked at Boot Barn. Man, we used to get I used to buy everything at cost.
That's
That was
nice.
how long ago it was. Now they don't do that anymore. But man, I used to buy a ton of stuff.
Rico, would you like to tell us about your first hat and
Yes,
what shape you
please.
decided to choose?
So similar to you, I started with an English discipline.
Woo!
Yes. English. So funny story, when I moved to Norco, it was the first time I ever bought a Western hat.
Really?
Yes. And it was at the Tackroom Hat Works. And I walked
Man,
into
Chris,
the store. I know.
Tackroom Hat Works is really
He's
good.
taking everybody's hat virginity.
I know. So we showed up, and there was probably like 4 or 5 people in front of us. I was super overwhelmed by the hat selection. I walked up to, I think it was his wife, and I was like, I need a cowboy hat.
I love her. She's so sweet.
And she was like, well, what kind of riding do you do? And I was like, horseback riding.
Mostly walking.
Mostly walking.
Sometimes trot.
Sometimes I trot. That's an Erin comment. So she picked out a hat for me that had really good ventilation. It was a straw hat, and it had a lot of like weaving in the crown area. So it would just feels like air conditioning, like when you're riding. It's actually, she knew what she was doing. And then when I went to have Chris shape my hat for me, he just shaped it to my head and said, this is what I think you should do. And actually that hat has barely any crease, and it's like almost, the whole brim is like almost flat. It's like barely up. And he said that when I'm out trail riding, I'll appreciate the shave, because if I'm out on trail, the air, that I would appreciate having a hat like that. And that was my first hat.
Do you know what the hat is made out of when they say felt?
Wool?
With my research today, also fact check me if I'm wrong, I heard that it is, yes, it's felt, but it's rabbit and beaver fur.
Mm-hmm.
I did read that it was most commonly like beaver fur.
I thought that was interesting.
That is really interesting. So something that's actually like over the years, over time, how hats have evolved is that I think in like the early 1950s is when fashion forward, like people began bringing in or introducing the cowboy hat to fashion. So like people in Hollywood, yes, this hat is very sparkly, extremely fashionable, but people in Hollywood started to wear actual like cowboy hats, and that's when I think 1950 was the 10-gallon hat. Like that common phrase was like, I'm wearing a 10-gallon hat. And so that is when all the movie stars would start to wear and dress up in their cowboy attire with their nice felt hats in the actual like movies.
So I actually, when I was doing my research, I actually saw something about how they said that it wasn't originally called the cowboy hat. It was.
I have it here in my notes. The Boss of Plains.
The Boss of Plains was the original name of it.
Yes.
Let me put my boss a plane on.
Right, and so not
really
until the cowboy movies came out did they start calling them cowboy hats.
Interesting.
Am I wrong? I'm not sure. Fact check me.
I mean, it says here the 1860 was the John B. Stetson
Mm-hmm.
Boss of Plains hat, which was the wide brim and high crown. And then in 1920 is when the straw hat was introduced, and that's when they started doing the different variations like you've just described. The 1950s was the 10-gallon hat, and the hats were introduced to Hollywood. And then in the 1980s, that's when urban cowboy introduced as formal wear. And then from the 1990s, that's when we started introducing things like exotic colors, exotic skins. So that's when on the brim of your hat, you have sparkles, you might have snake skin.
I did not have that stuff.
Things that would be considered like acceptable, do's, don'ts, horse showing world. There's a lot of colors out there. So, Mel, you came from a horse show world. You did Western Pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
So what color hats would you wear?
I would say that I know I know where you're going with this, but when I showed in Western Pleasure, I had a tan hat, and whatever color hat you wore, to me, didn't matter as long as you were matchy-matchy. So if I had a tan hat on, then my boots better be tan, my chaps better be tan, and the pad better have tan incorporated with an accent color.
So that is so on point with my research. I actually wrote that on this piece of paper. But I had a girlfriend of mine that I was talking to, and I was telling you this story earlier, how she had mentioned that if you wore anything other than a black hat in the Western Pleasure world, that you better be good. You better be really good, because judges will actually knock points off of you.
Good girl.
Yeah, real good. Because judges will knock points off you or your score if you're not wearing proper attire.
Yeah, proper attire for sure definitely matters. I don't know if it's knocking off points for what color you choose, but I know if you choose a color, you better stick with it and you better go all the way.
Other things that they said were that white and silver were traditionally like reining and cutting horse showing. And then chocolate and dark brown were ranch and cow horse
I could totally see that.
events. And then gray smoke was considered, or gray and smoke was considered pleasure or ranch riding.
Very cool, but I want all the colors, and I'm not doing any of that business.
I know, I do too. So they do talk about some of the trending colors though. Like I just bought a lime green hat.
I know, I got so jelly when you wore it on.
We're all getting some beautiful pink hats.
Yes, that's our next purchase.
Which actually Mel just did a little unveiling of that on one of our Instagram stories.
What is your favorite color to wear?
The hot pink one.
Yeah, that's look really cute on you. You look
Thank
a little
you.
Barbie.
Some of the other things that came up were like hat bands. So fashion, people are adding in hat bands, but also what you put in your hat band.
Ooh, Tackroom Hat Works has stickers.
Yeah?
I love their stickers, and they actually stay on very well. She has some on right now.
Do you
Which
like
they
putting
probably
feathers in
have.
your hat too?
I want to get a feather, and I want to get like a nice hat band for my hat. I just haven't yet.
Called macaroni.
Chicken macaroni.
No, she didn't get it.
I was like, you put macaroni in your hat?
No.
Put a feather in his hat and call him macaroni.
I've never heard that.
Who says that?
Put a feather in his hat and called it macaroni.
Oh! Okay, I get
I
it now.
can't think of what it's called. Like what?
B-I-N-G-O.
Bingo, what's his name? Bingo, what's his name, Mo?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's it.
B-I-N-G-O. B-I-N-G-O.
No, I'm pretty sure that's like a historical song.
No.
You put a feather in his hat and called him macaroni.
Yankee
It's not
Doodle.
bingo.
Yankee
Doodle.
Doodle. Yes,
Oh,
Yankee
Yankee
Doodle.
Doodle. That's that.
Yankee.
Whatever. You guys didn't even know what the French toast I was talking about anyway.
Hey, I did once I figured
I'm
it
What's
out.
a whole lot of judgment?
I was
Well,
like,
none of you
I'm
guys
pretty sure
knew.
this is some sort of historical song.
Oh,
I'm like, hold on, I got
I
this.
was
Now
so
that I know what
close.
we're talking
I
about.
was so close. Damn it.
So there's other things though, like superstition around what you put in your hat, what you do with your hat. And so I know I've actually explored and worn some of your hats.
The hat that I'm wearing right now, of Yvette's, it
Mhm.
actually has a picture in the front.
See ya.
It is. I don't know who it is.
That's my Aunt Sally.
Oh my gosh, I have a Grandma Sally.
My
I
Aunt
love
Sally
her.
that
She's
passed
sweet.
away.
Oh, rest in peace.
Now
You
you're
make
wearing
me
one of
look
her
beautiful.
rodeo drill hats. Is there something in that one or no?
I have something in all my hats.
I was just about to say I'm pretty
Not the
sure she has
banging.
something.
Auntie Sally, and we also have Hugo.
My cousin, that he was like my brother, that passed away. And then I have in mine, I have my dad. I have a bunch of my dad in here, but I'm not gonna take this off because I have a wig on.
Oh, so you
We're
made
not
me
gonna
take
do that.
mine off.
Listen, I have a wig on under here.
So why do you do that?
They're just with me because I wear them when I'm writing, and they're like my protection. You guys don't do that?
You inspired me. You made me want to put pictures and
Uh-huh.
stuff, like memories and stuff in my head.
It's just the people that are like my angels
Yeah.
that are protecting me.
In terms of superstitions, there's other things too. Like, do you put money in your hat? Are you allowed to put money in your hat?
Interesting.
Like a $2 bill or something.
That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
then that goes with the superstitions of not carrying money when you're going to be competing.
Girls, you told me last time in the superstition episode that maybe I should try putting.
Well,
money
that's
in my
what I believe you should, but you also said that you shouldn't, because then that's all the money you're going to go home with.
Do we believe everything that's on the internet?
Yes.
Mind you, we're making a YouTube video.
I legit
With
chat
facts.
GPT everything.
Believe everything we say.
Yes,
Right.
everything.
Not
we
everything
say.
else you see.
You don't have to feel in danger. We're telling you the truth.
Ooh. So other things that are like do's, don'ts, acceptable things, like not acceptable things, if you were a victim of this or for the person who did it, I'm sorry for telling this story, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. So I had gone to this bachelorette party in Solvang, and they have a event called, it's like the Vistaderos event or something like that, and they're like the oldest cowboy club in the nation, and it's like the richest cowboys in like the world. Like Walt Disney was in this. He was actually a cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
And the person who owns, I actually ran into him and met him, who owns the American Hat Company.
Wow.
Went on this, like, it's like essentially this, they start in Solvang and then they do like a 2-week camping journey or riding journey, starting from Solvang, and then they go, I don't even know where they end up. But anyway, we have a bar out in Solvang and it's called Mavericks. Ironically, we have a Mavericks out here. And so all of the cowboys were there and they were all having a great time. The girls were there. We're on our bachelorette party and we're all dancing. And one of the girls from my bachelorette party took one of the cowboys' hats.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah. And later on that night, he was like looking for it. And she never gave it back.
Ew. Sorry.
And so to this day, I have like unresolved over this because I'm like, what is that guy's story? Like, what if his hat, like, you know.
I hope he brought an extra.
Well, what is the story behind that? Like, I've actually, like, I did some reading on this and it was like some cowboys, that hat is their identity. It's their complete identity. Like, where they started, where they ended, like, where it's been, where it's gone. And so a lot of the times, like, a cowboy hat, depending on which one they're wearing, actually has a journey and a story and some meaning to it.
Some
so
sentimental value there.
yeah. So I was actually reading that some of the, like, faux pas and the, like, acceptable things and not acceptable things is, like, a girl taking a cowboy's hat is sometimes a sign of endearment. Like, the cowboy is, like, it's a romantic gesture.
It's not like you're taking your t-shirt home.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm pretty
like
sure.
a walk of shame outfit.
Yeah.
No.
No, it's not.
Not the
that.
same.
I
Cost
know.
$300.
Definitely not the
Cough
same.
it up, lady.
Yes. But then if another cowboy were to, like, touch another cowboy's hat, that's like a big no-no.
That's definitely a fighting offense.
Speaking of touching another cowboy's hat or a cowgirl's hat, we're talking about do's and don'ts, and I'm curious about when you are going into church or when you're going when they're singing the national anthem and or you're praying, are women supposed to take off their hats or not?
I bow my head, especially like at a rodeo or something, and my hat is pinned to my head.
Right? Because we
And I'm
pin
carrying
the
a
hat
flag?
out of our head.
I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna unpin my hat holding a flag and my horse.
In certain cases, I feel like if I was a bystander in a rodeo, of course, I'm not going to unpin my hat. It's just safety precautions also, like Savannah was saying. But if I'm just walking by and my hat's not pinned and, you know, they're singing the national anthem or they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance and whatnot, I'll take my hat off.
Oh yeah, I will too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just if I'm walking by and my hat's not pinned to my head, I'll take it off and put it over my chest and then just sit there. Especially for the prayer, I'll bow my head. But definitely if it's pinned, there's no way.
I have like toupee tape in the front of my hats to hold it down.
Yeah, I
It's
usually
like really inappropriate if I take it off.
There's a lot of stuff in these hats that sometimes you guys don't know, like
I got a
Pads.
maxi pad.
maxi pads.
A panty liner. I got a
Double
maxi
stick
pad in
tape.
one and a panty liner in the other.
Oh, what's that big thick tape that everyone duct tape?
Duct tape.
Duct tape.
Double-sided tape.
Double-sided tape.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have to say that the toupee tape is really, really good.
What are your guys' feelings on stampede strings?
No.
No.
For those of you that don't know what stampede strings are, it's literally taken from the term, like, you are riding in a stampede and you're going really fast and you don't want your hat to fly off, so you have these strings that attach to your hat that buckle underneath your neck.
Never in a million years.
In a cowboy hat, absolutely not. But in a sombrero charro, it is a must. Unless you are on foot. If you are on foot, you take off it's called a barbiquejo. And you take it off when you're on foot. When you're on horse, you have to have it on. It's like a requirement.
I have a question regarding, what is that piece called?
Barbiquejo?
That. I often see that it's more supportive on the chin.
Yeah, we
Versus
wear it
Oh
here.
yeah, I've
underneath.
seen
We do
that.
not wear
Yeah.
it here. We
Is
wear
there
it
a
on the
reason
chin.
why?
Well, that's just how we wear it. It's not supposed to be back here.
Back, yeah.
That's how you guys wear your stampede
Mm-hmm.
strings. We wear it here to hold it down. So you also have to remember it's a very wide brim hat. So like when you're running, it's like
The weight.
it's like it's heavy too. It's not light.
So the other types of versions or hat discussions, and we'll have this be our last little thing that we'll kind of chat about, is the type of people that wear hats. So there's the traditional cowboy hat, and then who wears like the rancher trucker hat. And when do you wear that?
I get like borderline embarrassment. What is it called when you're embarrassed for someone?
Secondhand embarrassment.
Secondhand embarrassment to the people that wear the ones that have like the American flag right here. And it's like,
Like they're at Coachella or
Yes.
Stagecoach?
Yes.
I've seen some people in Norco wearing them too at the rodeos.
Yes.
It's like they're like flimsy even.
Yes, or the flimsy ones that have like
They're
the
not from Norco, they're from Temecula.
That is what
yeah.
literally in my brain when I see that, that to me is what screams Buckle Bunny.
Yeah.
It's like I just want to fit in. Like not even Buckle Bunny, it just screams I want to fit in. I'm
I went to the
country.
gas station and I saw this and I thought, this is what I want.
You know what's funny is I actually associate people who wear like baseball caps or like trucker hats. I feel like those are like real rodeo people.
Yes.
Like I can't explain it, but if I see a girl that's gonna go out and like do a run on do a barrel run, or they're gonna do like breakaway roping, I feel like if they're wearing like a baseball, like a trucker hat, like I feel like with like their long beautiful hair, I'm like, that girl's probably really good.
I get so jealous of the girls that can wear trucker hats. They don't look good on me.
Yeah.
They
think that's good on you.
don't. They look like fat and like weirdly shaped. Like, ugh, they just never look good on me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say another one that I guess would fall into the topic of hats is like river hats. It's like the cowboy look, but they're flimsy and they sometimes have that wire where you can like bend it to how you want. Like I get it, it's supposed to be, you know, cover your shoulders maybe or just for a fun look. But those ones drive me up the wall.
Yes.
I feel you on that.
Yes. You see that and you're like, are you on a Kid Rock music video?
Yes. Exactly. Exactly the vibe.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, I think that's really kind of like sums up a lot of like the different types of hats, the history of the hats, the evolution, the fashion, the different types of people that are wearing the hats. And so, I'd say this is pretty safe to say we could cinch this up.
Thank you guys so much for watching our 8th episode of Untapped Podcast. Make sure you give us a like, comment, and subscribe.
Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and make sure to tune in on YouTube every Monday at Untapped Podcast.
Keep it classy, sassy, and make sure to clean your tack.
If you want.
We are going to talk about the birth of the cowboy hat.
We're going to talk about the birth of
How
Sweet
did we
Baby
say that
Jesus.
again?
I
Was so proudly we hailed